Hi everyone, Carlos Ghosn, hero or scoundrel? Hi everyone, welcome back to Tokyo on Fire. It is November 27th, 2018. A lot has happened over the last 8 days after Carlos Ghosn was arrested by public prosecutors. They walked onto the airplane, Michael, and they arrested him right in the corporate jet.
Right there on the tarmac at Haneda. Something I've never seen.
I've never seen that.
And ever.
The cameras were in position.
Yeah, look, well, NHK knew what was going to happen, but all this has been an absolute media circus, and also a circus in terms of trying to figure out day by day, through media leaks and all kinds of different rumors and speculation, what's he arrested for?
Right.
And the entire country is just looking at this and saying, oh, he's a good guy. Oh, wait, he's a bad guy. Oh, he's he's been entrapped. It's been a fascinating time.
Well, it really kind of has an inflection on how Japanese society is, or business culture is perceived outside of Japan as well. He was arrested. Everything that we've read in the newspapers over the last 8 days and seen on TV has only come from one or two sources. The other stuff, the stuff from Carlos Ghosn, he's sequestered. He's in basically solitary confinement, and he's not making any statements.
Not basically, is in solitary confinement in a tiny cell, as is Gregory Kelly, his second in command.
Right.
They were picked up and they're thrown into a Japanese jail. I mean, they won't freeze to death in there. This is not Russia, but it's Spartan to an nth degree and very small.
Right.
They are truly in for them extraordinary circumstances.
Right. Just for purposes of people who don't know, when you are arrested here in Japan, you don't necessarily need to have a file of arrest put upon you. You are detained.
That's right.
And you can be detained up to almost 3 weeks while they do the questioning. And when you're in this period of being detained, you can be visited by your lawyer, but it's limited to 1 hour at a time. And the guard who is sitting, you're talking through a plate glass, and the guard who is sitting there needs to be cognizant of what your conversations are. So if you're speaking in French or German or English, you need to lean over and tell him what you've just said.
It's not an environment that is entirely conducive to being able to mount a defense, to put it mildly. Furthermore, when they ask you questions, they're going to be asking in such a way as to entrap you into committing some kind of crime.
Right. Well, not only that, but they've got you 24 hours a day. If you want to go to the bathroom, you must ask for permission. And if you haven't been very cooperative, if you said, look, I've answered that question 15 times, I'm not going to answer it again, well then, the next time you need to go for a walk or have a cigarette or take a shave, think about it.
Yeah, there's an entire psychological game that's happening. They can turn off the heat when there's nobody around. They can do all kinds of things that help encourage you to quickly come to understand that their version of the story is the one that you also believe in. But that's not what seems to be leaking out. How the leaks are happening, whether it's being planted by his lawyers to counter what has been an absolute avalanche of condemnatory comments from Nissan itself,
his colleagues,
from his former colleagues, because he has been dismissed as the chairman, from the prosecutor's office, though not directly. It's always listed in the papers as someone who is close to the prosecution. These people are setting up a framework, and the media, Japan's media, specifically, interestingly, the Asahi Shimbun, has been the go-to place for all this information that has come out against Ghosn. Now, we're starting to see in the last couple of days that a counter narrative is coming out. Basically, 2 days ago, that first of all, that Ghosn and Kelly will not admit to wrongdoing, which shows that they're not cooperative and don't understand that they're guilty. And now today that they have done something, which in this case is deferred compensation for the chairman, and they admit that, and they believe that it is a legal act.
Right.
And then that's the counter move to all of this stuff that's just been coming out. And it's been an amazing process to see, as the prosecutors seem to be working out on the fly what it is that they're holding him for. And they do have time limits. They have to go to a judge now to extend his time in detention. He's not there just for questioning. He's there on a presumed arrest warrant.
Right.
But that warrant has not been issued yet.
You know, the thing that really irks me about this is that, yes, it turns out that he's a foreigner. But there were other foreigners in the past that have been treated like you would not have imagined a Japanese national CEO or a chairman being treated. And the disparity here is just so striking that it makes you fearful for other executives throughout the world who might come to Japan to also similarly resurrect a failing Japanese company.
That's right. This whatever your take on it, and I have a slightly different one. I think that he's more the famous nail that sticks out shall be hammered down kind of situation, because we have had Japanese executives and Japanese investors, Horie-san or Murakami-san, or if you wanted to go on the political side, Ozawa Ichiro trying to become prime minister and then having his aides suddenly arrested for something.
Sure.
That I can see both ways, but certainly with what happened in the Olympus case and now with Ghosn, who is, he should be a hero, and in fact they've had him in heroic roles with his own manga character, his life told. He's worked very hard on his image in Japan, while of course also enjoying all the perks of being a transglobal executive, and some of the perks were indeed excessive, at least seen from the Japanese side.
He's not really Mr. Bean in disguise.
No, his wedding at Versailles, that's pushing way past the envelope.
But I mean, they have corporate compliance, they have governance. These things are being pushed through. Hey, I'm going to get married, and since I travel around so much, I haven't had a holiday in 300 days. How about you guys pony up and you pay for the wedding and we make it a big corporate thing? How about that? I'm sure they massage that, and the chairman wants it paid for, so let's make it happen.
Well, even if
People
he paid for it entirely
out
out of his own pocket, the visuals are not good in terms of Japan, because then, and we've seen it, they have gone immediately, at least the media has this immediate herd reaction to go to individual employees, lower-ranking employees of Nissan, saying, this guy was paid so much and he's so greedy. How do you feel?
Yes.
And they get the soundbite they need. Well, I guess he really loved money. Bingo, and they put that up.
Yep.
And the herd behavior in terms of Japan's media in this case, it's going to really change people's views about, okay, will I get a fair shake? Will I get a fair deal if I come to Japan?
Let's talk about the prospects of this being a coup d'etat. This being something that's orchestrated, that was planned and put into place because of the merger of the two companies, or the three companies, into a single unit that is controlled basically by the French.
It would be controlled by Renault. Most of the cars would be sold by Nissan and made by Nissan, with Mitsubishi tacked on. And for the Nissan executives, even though they blew out the company, of course that upper echelon was taken away when Ghosn took over, but nevertheless the corporate culture of Nissan is still very proud, still very nationalist. I mean, it's Nissan, Japan production. It's and it has its name in kanji. It doesn't. We're Nissan. Do you understand? And they were not happy with that possible new role underneath Renault in a management structure. Now, one of the interesting aspects that hasn't been in the news is what the Japanese government's view of all this is, what the political establishment thinks. They have kept really quiet, and that's interesting because we know, at least on the French side, since the French government is the largest shareholder of Renault, they have a very distinct interest. And it's amazing to me that the French government was not given any kind of heads up on this. As a simple courtesy, government to government, one of your most prominent citizens is about to be arrested. Hello, Mr. Ambassador, I have some bad news.
Well, let's back it up just a little bit before that. If you're a company employee and something like this is going on, the first thing you're going to do is collect this dossier of things that you think the chairman is doing and present it to him rather than putting it into a briefcase and walking it over to the public prosecutor's
Or
office.
at least present it to the board or present it to an ombudsman. There must be there must be some kind of governance. Now, what the framing of this argument is that Ghosn destroyed the government structure through the holding company in the Netherlands, and that there was no ability for the company by itself to clear itself out. That's their story, and we will see if that holds up. What we know now is that the prosecutors are homing in on the concept that not stating deferred payments is illegal, and that is the basis of what was an internal investigation by the company. Now, again, as you said, normally you don't run to the prosecutors. You
don't tell the teacher.
That's right. Legal, legal goes and talks to the board and to the executives and says, this arrangement that you've cooked up doesn't work. It will not fly. We've got to undo it.
Right. Michael, did you see just recently, related to that, a young lawyer in Olympus had his own press conference, and he said, look, I was hired to help retrieve all of the things that the company said it was going to do and help implement those. I've been in the company now for 7 years since I became a lawyer, and they're not doing a single one of them.
Yeah, well, that's precisely what most people would predict, that after having jettisoned their foreign CEO, they would go back to exactly the same things they were doing before because they would not be held accountable. And they weren't. And everyone now says, okay, why didn't that work out for Nissan? Why didn't Carlos Ghosn just get to bury all of this bad news, give them the chance, and the company goes on? No, that's not the way they worked. This what looks like a coup d'etat. And indeed, there's been one big division. It's in the media sphere, between the Shakaibu and the business part of any media organization. The Shakaibu, the scandal and crime sections, immediately ran with whatever they received from the leakers inside the prosecution or the police. They took it and printed it. The business side looked at what was being presented, especially at that press conference by the CEO, and just began immediately asking questions. This looks like a coup d'etat. Yeah. Well, explain how it isn't one. And no, there were bad things that happened. Immediately looked really, really interesting, those two different groups. And let's face it, by choosing the Asahi Shimbun as their main leak point, the prosecutors are quite wise. They know very well that it has one of the weakest, least divisions in terms of economics, business, finance. They would be an ideal place because they wouldn't be critical in their analysis of what it was that they were being told.
Right. Let's talk just a little bit about the new plea bargaining situation that we've got that perhaps the public prosecutors were hoping to leverage so that they might get something of an admission out of Carlos Ghosn so that they could clear this thing up.
Well, they have for the first time, recently received the possibility of doing plea bargains. And this is only the second time that prosecutors are using it. They are rank amateurs at this, and they seem to have stumbled into, at least from looking at it right now, into an internal fight where they were snookered by one side. And that side came to them, said, here's the crimes that the other people did, and will you let us off the hook if we provide you with information? And that seems to be what the prosecutors did, and they just didn't think it through, that they could be used by other people in order to do a takedown.
Well, usually when somebody comes up as a whistleblower, there's two impetus to do that. One is something's happening, I'm implicated in it, and I want to get away scot-free. And the second one is this is so egregious that as a stand-up citizen, I need to report to somebody.
Yeah, but in this case, what we see is the Nissan people do not want the merger to go forward.
Right.
We know that. And we know that they did their internal investigation and didn't share it with their executives. They went to the prosecutors. From anyone looking at this says this is a setup. Now, other non-Japanese execs have been taken down in similar ways. Horie and the way his company was dismantled. That was clearly, the prosecutors had an idea of somehow finding a crime. We have a goal, we have a defendant that we want to bring down. We'll find the crime. Here, the defendant was offered to them by his rivals inside the company, and they bid on it.
It just strikes me as so strange, Michael, because usually the public prosecutors will become involved when there is a blatant crime being committed. They need to move in. This is mostly a kind of inside the corporate boardroom kind of struggle. This is not really a criminal investigation kind of situation.
There was no criminal investigation until the company brought it up themselves. So we'll see how this is going to work out.
Carlos Ghosn, criminal or hero? We still don't know, but stay tuned. We're going to report on this later. Stay tuned.